Good evening, you're watching The Last Word. I'm Sanjana Chauhan. As he prepares to take charge as the BCCI president, former India captain and the man of mega comebacks, Sourav Ganguly has said first-class cricket will be his foremost priority. However, what he probably also knows is that the new guard of the BCCI will have to do in 10 months what the COA attempted to do in over 33 months, which is to implement the Lodha recommendations for administrative changes in the BCCI. So after all these years, several court hearings and crores spent on committees and lawyers, is Indian cricket any closer to being pristine than when the COA had anything to do with it? Will the new guard ensure a cleaner system? Let's discuss this evening. So let me quickly introduce my guests this evening. We have Veturi Srivastav, senior sports journalist, Sumansi Raman, sports commentator, Gaurav Gupta, sports journalist, Alan Sippy, former cricketer, and Ratnakar Shetty, former general manager of the BCCI. But really quickly, before I go to my panel, let's just listen in to what Sourav Ganguly had to say.
It's a very important time in Indian cricket administration because of all what's happened in the last 3 years. To be in a position where I can make a difference along with the team would be extremely satisfying. So hopefully in the next few months we can put everything in place. For me, my biggest focus will be first-class cricket. I've been very vocal on looking after first-class players. I had never expressed my aspirations for this position. You know, there are senior people in the team in the BCCI. Rajiv Bhai is with us. I've never spoke to anyone. I've never expressed that I was keen.
Sourav Ganguly over there saying that he never spoke to anybody, never expressed any aspirations. Veturi Srivastav, let me come to you first. Your reading of this, will these changes make for a better, more transparent administration?
Transparent, I don't know, but what Sourav says is right. But he has to carry the entire team. The way it looked, as you said very clearly, after spending crores and crores of money on litigation and administrative things, and today we are back to where we were. Previously, the politicians used to be there to get things done, it used to be said. Now the office bearers again going to powerful politicians to get things done. So in what way it has changed? In a way, if you really look at it, and it is the same old thing. Now if Sourav Ganguly and other office bearers have to go to Delhi to meet Amit Shah and other Thakur and all before flying to Bombay, so what is it? What does it convey? It is the same. I mean, if you really look at it, 20 members, 20 state associations have people of dubious nature. They all got elected. Some of them voted from the jail also. I mean, if you have this kind of a thing, and more important thing is that you said Srinivasan should go, Rajiv Shukla should go, Niranjan Shah should go. They were all there in Bombay. What fought for? I mean, it is something. So it is the same thing. I mean, if they are going to run cricket through their proxies, see, the board is, in fact, the old board was as good as anything else. They were running things because they had a template to run the domestic cricket, everything. That's where I think Sourav Ganguly might make some difference when he talks of first-class cricket and first-class cricketers. I mean, this is where, and with so many other cricketers also in the committee, Apex committee and all, let's see how things work out. I think we'll get the taste of it within a couple of months perhaps.
Right, so let me actually go through the Lodha panel recommendations, because Sumansi Raman, no one is debating that the BCCI needed changes. But were the recommendations a little too game-changing considering that they took 33 months?
Look, many of the recommendations were welcome. Not all, but many of them. In fact, I would say most of them were welcome changes which were required. Now, what has actually happened is people have merely those who were already well entrenched in the system and whom the reform was actually expected to or meant to replace have found a way around it. They've just brought in their other family members and got them entrenched within the same in the same post that they once held. So net, I don't honestly know what this 33 months has actually achieved. If at the end of the day we are, for all practical purposes, we are back to square one. Sourav Ganguly is merely going to legitimize the continuation of what existed and the system which was perceived to be a rotten one for many years. And the fact that he cannot be questioned because his credentials are impeccable and he is more than capable of holding the job. So the point is he is effectively going to lend legitimacy to all those who are in the team behind him, and most of whom are there because of their political clout or their family connections. So this is, I mean, what has changed? Nothing has changed.
Gaurav Gupta, is it fair to say at all that the Indian cricket administration has improved since 2015 with the COE looking after all the cricket-related affairs?
I think things improved on certain front, and they deteriorated on a few fronts as well. It's been a mixed bag, the COA's entire reign. If you look at it, there were certain things that were made better. I think Saurav made a point today that he's looking at raising the salaries and the incomes of the first class players. But I think that was done by the COA in one of their meetings. They raised the salaries of the selectors as well, and they did a few good things as well. You cannot completely say that their reign was terrible and they did everything that was bad, that could have been bad. They did certain few good things as well. They could have done better, but then that goes for the BCCI administrators as well.
Okay, Sumansi Raman, you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the objective essentially was to ensure a democratic process and to bring in transparency. On both of these counts, I don't think that there has been any significant change, because we have now gone back to a system where a few people sit across the table and say that, I will give your man this post and you give my man that post, which is effectively what has happened now. And, I know it's a very difficult thing because this happens everywhere in India. It happens in politics, it happens in business. So the logic of why can't it happen in the BCCI is the obvious question. But the sad fact is 33 months has not led to anything significant in terms of, kind of a glasnost, as it were, what was attempted in Indian cricket. And I think that it's, in all fairness, I think we should acknowledge that we are back to square one.
Right, so what was the trouble with the Lodha recommendations? Let's remember, because they were initially lauded even by the critics. Office bearers were saying that the recommendations would be implemented, some of them even accepted, but the three sticking points still remain. Why do you think that happened, Ratnakar Shetty? You're joining us on the phone line.
Well, I think the objective of Lodha committee was good, and in fact, I thought that they should have restricted themselves to bringing in accountability, transparency in the associations. What went wrong basically is to mirror the constitution of BCCI with that of the state units. Probably the Lodha committee did not understand the working of the board is not the same as the working of a state unit. A state unit actually runs cricket, whereas the board only frames guidelines and issues guidelines to the state units. Each state unit conducts about 1,500 matches, local matches, apart from domestic, BCCI and international. So the structure has to be different from that of the BCCI. So Apex Council certainly was not a solution for the state units. That was the first thing. Secondly, in the case of the elections that are to be held, I think the system has fallen in place now with an election officer, with an ombudsman. Those are good things that have come in as far as to streamline the working that was necessary.
Right. So, Mr. Shetty, you've been a former general manager of the BCCI. So, is it difficult to answer whether the administration improved after 2015? Are you saying that there was too much time spent on infighting, legal processes, modalities, while the state associations have taken control?
Well, I think, see, to be fair to BCCI and people who governed BCCI earlier, prior to the LODA recommendations and the committee of administrators coming in, I don't think BCCI was a badly run state sports body. The results are there for people to see. But there were issues which were there basically of accountability of state units which were getting a lot of money. And Justice Lodha and his committee felt that there has to be some accountability that has to come into the system. Term of office of the administrators should be restricted so that the same people don't control for a number of years. Those were the recommendations which were implemented.
Okay, but that's exactly what's happening is what the contention is. Veturi Srivastav, let's try and understand what's going to change now, considering what the COA actually set out to do or what the Lodha panel's recommendations envisioned didn't particularly pan out the way it did. Because let's remember that there is something that the COA perhaps has done that needs to be lauded, considering that besides the age factor and a fair amount of proxism, it definitely didn't escape anybody's notice that Chief Vinod Rai went out of his way to protect Rahul Johri, let's remember, who was facing some pretty serious allegations.
Yeah, CVA and all, I don't think they also knew. They're only there for a few months, or actually it was extended to almost 2 years now. But that did not help. I mean, what exactly did they do? I mean, they were doing only the papering of some of those minor issues and kind of thing. But otherwise, see, cricket has been running like this in India for the last 40, 50 years I've known. And the template were made long back. All domestic cricket, I mean, it's not very easy to, as Mr. Shetty said, to conduct 1500 matches at all age groups. And that's been going on, whether COA was there or whether the new cricket board, they will also follow the same template. So what is it that is going to be done? See, the thing is the transparency part when you talk about it. So what transparency is there? There are issues which cannot be discussed publicly, which people want it to be discussed. How will you discuss? Now, Sourav Ganguly has his own ideas which he has expressed already about conflict of interest. What will he do to Rahul Dravid? Now it has to be seen. What will he do to Ravi Shastri? Because he has a strong views about coaches also. So all these things, see, either way, he will be questioned. I said whether he can really work on these issues. Of course, he said very nicely, I am going to concentrate only on first class cricket. I mean, what else can he do in first class cricket? That is the thing. As it is the first class cricket in the last few years, it has really shown so many cricketers have come from first class cricket. They've all been given opportunities. They've all done well. They've played for India also, because there are three test cricket, shorter formats, all this. So you can get players. There are lots of competition going on.
Right.
So the same competition will continue. The selection committee, what kind of selection committee will he get it? That has to be seen. Can he really get top cricketers to be in the selection committee? I mean, every time a selection committee comes, there are complaints the guy has played only 5 test matches and he's sitting in judgment on somebody who has played for 50 tests. All these kind of things will continue to be asked and questioned.
Okay. I also have Alan Sippy joining us on the phone line. Alan, we're going to try and connect with you over Skype in just a moment, because let's remember that one of the objectives of the committee's game-changing reforms was to root out well-entrenched administrators. The administrators may have officially called it a day, but unofficially, as we have been discussing, it's another story, because the hold of one-time strongmen is intact, because perhaps even more so than ever. So where does it go from here?
Frankly, Sanjana, I think this is a great day for Indian cricket, according to me.
Okay.
Simply because for the last 3 years, India is one of the biggest cricketing nations in the world. We bring in 80% of the revenue to the world of cricket. And for the last 3 years, nobody has represented us strongly in the BCCI, in the ICC. It has been almost an abysmal performance by whoever's done it. Today, we got an opportunity. You see, there were 5 cricketers in the past, the 5 stalwarts of Sachin Tendulkar, Sehwag, Dravid, Lakshman and Ganguly. Out of the five, four of them were superstars and one was a mega star, which is Sachin Tendulkar. Today, in this form, where Mr. Sourav Ganguly is the head of BCCI, he is a mega star. Simple reason, I'll explain to you why, Sanjana. Because the person talking before me, does not know actually what Sourav Ganguly brings to the table. First of all, Sourav Ganguly has a voice, and he has an extremely powerful voice, and he has substance behind that voice. The man knows what he's talking about. He has run the company, he has run India so well in the cricket field. Now it's time for him to perform off the field, simply because the BCCI has been without any support for last 3 years. And Indian team, to be honest, we should give full marks to people like Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri for doing such a great job in the Indian team for such a long time without the backing in the BCCI. Today we got a powerful human being, we got a powerful man called Sourav Ganguly, and I'm telling you this, I'm promising you this man can change the face of how Indian cricket will be. Because when he sits in the ICC, he will have a voice and people will listen to that voice. Because in the past, we had puppets sitting there. Now we have somebody with a powerful voice sitting there, and that's what's important for Indian cricket. We should be happy today.
Okay, point taken. But who is to say that the actual, problems of corruption, red tapeism, nepotism, and a fair amount of proxyism isn't going to go away, Alan? We can't just magically wish it away.
No, you cannot wish it away because Rome wasn't built in a day, Sanjana. It takes time. Now, you're given a guy who's a proven class. He's got the capabilities. He's running the Bengal, the administration there. He knows what he's talking about. This man has got the substance. When I say substance, because he knows how to do it, and he has run Indian cricket on the field. Give him a chance. This is off the field. It's a different ball game. He's got a very powerful team behind him. Look at the power in the team. This is all about power. People are talking. I'm hearing some loose comments. People are talking about politics. Politics. If they say politics, this is brilliant politics. Because why? Because this team is so powerful. You got, Mr. Shah as his right-hand man. You've got Anurag Thakur. You've got the other Shah. These guys are powerful people. And you want, as a cricketer, as a fast cricketer, I want these guys to represent Indian cricket. Because from here, you will see a different ball game. You'll see how India goes forward. And now ICC will not try and bully us. They will sit back and think, oh my God, we've got somebody to compete with. Because this is what Indian cricket want. We bring 80% of the revenue here.
Right. But point taken. But let me just pose this question to Gaurav Gupta. Gaurav, because the future of cricket administration, the running of it also actually needs to be looked at, considering that, yes, while Alan does make fair points, Ganguly and team will essentially be able to carry out their duties only for a period of 10 months.
Yes, that's true, Sanjana, because after 10 months, both, they'll have to relinquish their position. Both Ganguly as well as Mr. Jay Shah, who's the new secretary, supposed to be the new secretary. So then we'll have to see, possibly we'll have, I'm just guessing, but Mr. Bajesh, somebody like Mr. Bajesh Patel taking over as the president, and someone else taking over as the secretary, maybe Rajat Sharma or maybe Mr. Arun Dhumal. So these guys have 10 months, but then you never know tomorrow if the parliament passes the sports bill, which would supersede the Lodha reforms. Then all this goes out of the window, and then perhaps Sourav and Mr. Jay Shah will enjoy an extended run. So there's still lots of things that can happen from here. But for now, they have 9-10 months to, as Sourav said, to set things in order and to put the house in order and do a lot of things which require a lot of cleaning up. And I do believe that one of those will definitely be cleaning up this whole conflict of interest mess that has completely engulfed, surrounded Indian cricket and threatens to affect the participation of former cricketers in the running of the game. It's like almost every second person is conflicted, and there's just one man sitting in Indore filing all the conflict of interest complaints. That sort of nuisance has to end, and I really hope that, I think Sourav is very, very right when he said that it's a serious issue which needs to be tackled, and I think this committee has they have the mandate, and they will have the vision to sort of take us beyond all these problems.
Right, actually, because that was my next question to Alan Sippy itself, because had the past 3 years Alan left, you feel fewer genuine parties interested in contributing to the game because of the constant shifting of goalposts with regards to conflict of interest, guidelines that have ruled out a lot of people we've seen just in the recent past.
Yeah, because Sanjana, exactly. Good point you make. Because you see, in the past, all these guys, the conflict of interest, look at when we say conflict and interest, and I just bring a point in the IPL. We have got people like Ricky Ponting. We've got people like other coaches, foreign coaches. They're doing different things there, and they're coming and earning money here. No harm in that, because we used to go once upon a time to play county cricket. But what is the conflict interest? Why are our people not allowed to represent? Why are people not allowed to, like people like the coaches of Indian cricket, like Bharat Arun, for example, such a brilliant coach. He's doing a great job in Indian cricket with the bowling. Why is he not allowed to coach an IPL team? Why is it conflict interest? You need to help these guys. And today we'll have a voice. Maybe they won't get the job, or they won't be allowed, but at least you have a powerful voice. Someone like Sourav Ganguly, and I'm telling you this about Sourav Ganguly again. Sourav Ganguly has a tremendous ego. And in life, you need a little bit of ego, because ego gets you respect from people. Because if you control your ego in the right manner, you will get respect from people. And this man has tremendous respect in the world of cricket. Some people don't like it, but I think he's great, because he will lead this country well. I think in 10 months, they're talking about 10 months. According to me, he'll do such a good job that they will extend his tenure, because this man is the right person to lead Indian cricket forward in BCCI and ICC.
Okay, but Suman C. Raman, I think the fear was and still is that the structure of the organization has not been significantly altered off paper, and there are enough loopholes that have been left in place for those who actually want to run the game without having official positions to still do so, because really we have a host of names in front of us. So it's very well to get excited about Sourav Ganguly taking the reins, but we have to remember it's 10 months and that not much has changed in 3 years.
Look, as I said earlier, I've been a big fan of Ganguly myself, and I believe that he has what it takes to do this job. Unfortunately, the way he has actually come into this position as a kind of a compromise candidate, according to some, according to many, as having the backing of the Home Minister and Anurag Thakur, the BJP camp, as it were. It's going to be extremely difficult for Ganguly to actually crack the whip on anything he actually feels needs to be done. He really feels needs to be done, because I think eventually he will have to sort of report into the powers that be, whatever level. And it is my belief that in this case, you're probably going to have a secretary who's much more powerful than the president himself. I mean, not that it hasn't happened before or we haven't seen it in other areas, but effectively, it's going to be Ganguly has got impeccable credentials. He's got the talent, he's got the popularity, he's got the charisma, and he will end up legitimizing the existence of the status quo. He will legitimize the active actions of a lot of others. I hope it doesn't happen, and I hope his ego does not allow him to fall that way. But unfortunately, I can't honestly see anything changing, because he is at some level going to be beholden to these people who've actually put him in the chair.
Okay. I'd like to bring Ratnakar Shetty in on that. Ratnakar Shetty, do you feel that that's going to happen, where Sourav Ganguly eventually is, going to be less powerful than the secretary, or is eventually going to cave to the powers that be? Because let's remember, this may as well be a fresh face, a new guard, but it is an old hand that is guiding it.
As far as I know, Sourav, I think he is independent. He will take his own decisions. And I'm sure that his experience will count a lot when it comes to administering the cricket part of it. And I don't think he can be forced to take any decisions which he is not comfortable about.
Okay, but Ratnakar Shetty, if I were to ask you, what kind of changes do you envision or you wish to see in the BCCI, considering you have been in close quarters, you perhaps understand the loopholes better than anybody else? What do you think is the need of the hour?
See, the recommendations which have been implemented, some of them have really started working. It's not, probably the public doesn't realize that. But, one of the major issues was how money is used by the state units. BCCI used to give a lot of funds which were in some cases went unaccounted, and there were problems. Now, those all things have fallen in place because the associations are paid the money and they have to give a utilization certificate. The BCCI accounts team has to be satisfied with that before the next installment is given to the association. the transparency part of it is slowly coming into the system, which we had not seen earlier. But one of the problems that was spoken about by Gaurav was of conflict of interest. Those rules need to be streamlined because a cricketer, if he doesn't contribute to the game of cricket after retirement because he's coaching somewhere or he's working for some company, I think it would be unfair. And that's one area where probably things should change, I feel also. And it may not be something that will happen overnight with Sourav Ganguly, but slowly I'm sure that he will do what is good for Indian cricket.
Okay, Vettori Srivastav, there's conflict of interest. What else do you think is the need of the hour with regards to something that needs to change immediately within the BCCI? Because we're seeing conflict of interest. We're seeing there's some stability coming about when there are, in terms of expenses, as Mr. Shetty rightly put it. But what else do you think needs to change immediately?
Personally, I think, as Sourav said, first-class cricket, it can be streamlined because they keep on changing the format, particularly event like the Dilip Trophy. You know, it can't be done like this. After all, there has to be some continuation of any system. It can't be changed every second year because it doesn't suit some associations or it doesn't suit some officials. It can't happen because if the first-class cricket is really streamlined, now as it is, most of the state associations are running very well. They all have their stadiums, which I mean, you must give it to the old system. They have doled out money, some 8 and some, but most of them had their infrastructure-wise. I think nowhere else you can have so many first-rate cricket stadiums which we have in our country. So that way it is a good thing. So now and some of the associations have really done well also. I mean, which people may not notice. Only the negative part is highlighted in most cases. Some of the associations are really run well and they have all been doing well. See, the selection part, the junior levels cricket has to improve. That is the only thing. At the junior levels, a lot of nepotism and lot of corrupt practices are being indulged in. Otherwise, that when you come to the first class level, I mean, things have improved. Things are good. But still, some of like when you look at it, when I saw the list, at least 20 associations are run by people of dubious nature. So if you have that kind of people at the helm, so the cricket is bound to suffer. That has to be taken care of. Now you have so many associations coming in, and again they will all be, I mean, they were all used as vote bank when this decision was taken also. Some of the associations were, played up.
Right.
So these things happen, but that doesn't mean anything. But as long as cricket is taken care of, all these minor politics do not matter.
Right. Alan Sippy, do you look at it as minor politics? Because it appears that, you know, the once power brokers, the administrators, as we have been saying, have called it a day, but their proxies are very much present in the BCCI still.
See, the previous caller, I sympathize with him because he's saying things in a very pessimistic, he's not optimistic about Indian cricket going forward. I'm extremely optimistic of what has happened today with Sourav Ganguly being in charge. Simply, I'm not looking at the past, Sanjana. Unfortunately, because of the Skype, I was not able to get through to you guys. But I was enjoying this debate for one reason, because today is a great day for Indian cricket. Because you see, this is a chance. What is the point of saying this won't happen and that won't happen? I don't like negative people and giving negative views all the time. You need to be positive. Indian cricket is benefited today with having somebody with substance who's going to lead us for 10 months, maybe longer. Hopefully it's longer. And look at the team, Sanjana. I'm talking about the team. So this is the power you need in cricket, because this is 85% or 80% of the revenue comes from India. I'm repeating myself. But how do you go forward? You need somebody to represent you well. Forget about the past. Whoever's done it for 3 years, that's why I say Indian cricket has done so well. We are number one in the test rankings. We are doing so well in one-day cricket. We have done well without the backing of the BCCI, because there was nobody supporting us there. Today, we got tremendous backing because such a lobby, you got such a strong side, Sanjana. This is a team of substance. Each one of them has power. Each one of them has substance. Each one of them has got skill set. These guys are going to lead Indian cricket the right way. I'm not interested in people saying negative things because, according to me, I'm a positive believer in life. So this is an opportunity for Sourav Ganguly. He will take his time, but I'm telling you, this man can deliver with the team. Not just him, it's about a team. And Sourav Ganguly has always been a team player. He will, with his team, he will perform well for Indian cricket.
Right, but again, coming back to the point of the cooling off periods, Suman C. Raman, let me quickly bring you in here because do you feel that perhaps for this 10-month period that there should have been somebody else and then maybe pitch Ganguly?
I would have appreciated what the previous gentleman said if he had just restricted himself to Sourav Ganguly and his capabilities. But then he spoke about this dream team that has come up. Now, I mean, the dream team is effectively made up of sons, brothers, sisters, and so on. I mean, what on earth is different from the team that was there earlier?
Right.
I mean, I don't understand. I mean, unless he feels that Arun Dhumal is a huge difference from Anurag Thakur or and so on. I mean, I honestly can't understand the rationale and the logic. I mean, this is. Honestly, this is bizarre to hear him say that we've got a dream team and these are the. I mean, the same team. It is effectively the same team, and the proxies of the earlier team are continuing. And if he sees this as change, good luck to him. I can understand him being enthusiastic about Ganguly. That's fine. But to say that this is a dream team that will transform Indian cricket, well, good luck to him. I mean, it's
go ahead,
just
Alan.
faith and nothing else. I mean, there's no rational objectivity for it.
Yeah, okay, Alex, I'll answer that question. Very, very valid point he makes. But I'll tell you why it's a dream team. Because any team needs a good leader. Any team needs a good captain. If you have a good captain, they may have been the same players playing. They may have been the Anurag Thakur before. May have been somebody else. But when you have somebody of substance like Sourav Ganguly leading the side, and that's what a captain is, you have to lead the side. You have to represent your country well. And this is what I'm trying to say to you guys. He will represent India very well in ICC. When he sits in the ICC meeting, trust me on this, there will be people in the ICC, the foreigners and everybody else, they will wake up and look at him because they'll understand that we have somebody powerful in there. And that is what I'm talking about, dream team. You must have a leader. Today we have a leader who's going to represent us and he's going to lead this team forward. It's all about a leader. You need to have a leader. Today we are happy because whether we like it or not, we got Mr. Modi leading this. He's a leader and that's what you want. You want somebody to lead your country. This is what he's doing. He's going to lead this team and he's going to do a great job for us.
But I think by that logic, the very same party that, has all kinds of accusations when it comes to dynasty and dynastic politics cannot exercise the same kind of administration when it comes to BCCI, can it?
You're talking to me, Sanjana?
Yes, Alan.
Yeah. What is wrong in dynasty? What is wrong in people? For example, if somebody's son is in there and somebody's nephews. What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong. If the person is good enough for the job, he should get the job. It doesn't make a difference who he's related to. Why are we getting so political about these things? If he's good at his job and people like Anurag Thakur is brilliant at his job, give him the chance. Let him represent us well because these guys are good. They know how to run the country. They know how to run the cricket, I mean. And this is why I'm saying this team is very good. Today they have a leader. In the past, what did they have? They didn't have anybody representing them well. We were having conflict on the COA all the time. We would hear something or the other. It was frustrating to hear non-stop bickering behind the scenes. Today, at least, hopefully, this man and his team, Sourav Ganguly and his team, will take it forward and will stop hearing all this conflict of interest and this and that. And hopefully, he'll eradicate this mess. Because if we need to move forward, we in a country, we have to be positive.
Right.
If you've got 80%, Sanjana, sorry, just 1 second more.
Go ahead.
80%, if you're ruling the world of cricket, you've got 80% of revenue you're bringing in. Wouldn't you want to rule it? If I was, bringing in money in my company, bring 80% out, I'd like to be the boss. I need to rule it. Why would I want somebody else to rule me? This is what we're trying to say. Indian cricket is being ruled by too many people in the past. Today, we got an opportunity to get back what we deserve because 80% is massive.
Okay, point taken. So really quickly, Gaurav Gupta, is BCCI's makeover positive? Do we need to focus more on the reforms, less on the proximism?
I think we need a balance here. This change is extremely positive. Somebody like Sourav Ganguly taking over as the BCCI president. But then at the same time, let's not forget some of the reforms were good. We need to keep that in mind. And our system, our previous system needed some cleaning up. That was done. Unfortunately, we had too many clauses and reforms and this and that coming in. I thought we went a bit overboard in trying to correct the previous system. But now let's go ahead with what I mean. Again, the COA. I would keep saying they did some positive things as well. There were a lot of negatives about them. They could there was open bickering. There was disagreements between them. But now going forward, I think this is a decent team to have. As long as the cricketers' interests are at the forefront all the time. There's no politics when it comes to selection of coaches, captains, selectors themselves. As long as the intention is right, I'm sure we need to give this new Apex Council, this new team that Saurav has a chance to do well. And my best wishes with them.
Okay, Ratnakar Shetty, let me quickly bring him in here. He's still with us on the phone line. Mr. Shetty, as we rightly said, perhaps the cricketers' interests need to be looked at here. As per your argument earlier, why can't cricketers be allowed to play in other leagues, especially the ones who are not contracted by the BCCI, those who don't find, say, place in state A, B or C teams?
That's something of the policy decision which the board had taken, protecting the IPL at that time.
Okay.
I'm sure that this new body can have a relook at that decision. Why? Because one good thing that you must appreciate and everybody must realize is that there will be at least 2 cricketers in the Apex Council. So out of 8 members, there are 2 cricketers. There are additional people like Ganguly who happens to be an office bearer now. So I think the cricketer's voice will be heard in most of the Apex Councils, in the associations, as in the board. And that's one good change that has come about.
Okay. Okay, Ratnakar Shetty, I also wanted to ask you to what extent can modalities, legalities and processes be re-looked at with this new panel and with this new guard of BCCI taking over?
Well, I think if you read the constitution that has been approved by the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court has put a clause there which says that you can amend it with 3/4 majority of the members, but for every amendment you have to take the approval of the Supreme Court. Now the idea was that BCCI should not go back entirely to the old constitution. Probably that was the fear, that after some time people will change everything that has come about in the form of reforms. To prevent that, the Supreme Court has put in this clause that if you want to amend any of these clauses of the present constitution, you need the approval of the Supreme Court. So it all depends on how and what, whether the changes that you want to make, whether they are actually affecting the reforms that have been recommended or whether they are in the interest of the cricket.
Okay. Okay, point well taken. Suman C. Raman, back to Sourav Ganguly, the king of comebacks, one of India's finest Indian captains, will take over. As you were saying, we were talking about 10 months. He may have pulled a match that looked all but lost in the past, but how much is that actually going to change in this short time?
See, the thing that concerns me also is that here was an opportunity for the BCCI to sort of move forward by appointing somebody who would have a regular term instead of just 9.5 odd months left in office. And they chose not to do that. They chose to go ahead with Ganguly. Now, one gentleman on the panel actually said that, maybe they'll find he's so good that they will extend the term by violating the law that they themselves have accepted now. I mean, it's so illustrative of the problems with Indian cricket or with the BCCI, not with Indian cricket. Cricket is doing well, but the point is, yes, the BCCI is a well-run organization, especially when you compare it to other sports organizations in the sports bodies in India. The BCCI is extremely well-run. There's a huge amount of money which certainly helps them to run it better, but that alone does not mean that they should run it better. They do run it well. The point is, transparency and accountability. Now, these two things, has anything changed? And I think honestly, at the end of the day, very little has changed in public perception. Within, to say that, earlier only a few people used to take all the decisions and there was only one faction, now there are multiple factions. I don't think that's correct. There have always been multiple factions in the BCCI, and this time the factions have sat together and they have sort of agreed on a consensus candidate, knowing fully well he has only 10 months in office. So this is purely a consensus ploy, because he cannot continue in office beyond July 2020. And then what do? Then you go back to the drawing board, more negotiations, more compromises, and then you'll come up with some other candidate who will be there for the next term.
Okay, Mr. Srivastava, do you think that that is actually the way this is planned out, that there's a consensus ploy that's at play here, where that's, exactly how the powers that be have planned this out? Because what appears to be is that although there was some midnight drama, there now seems to be peace, uneasy peace nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, I agree with Raman. See, this is exactly how the board has been running for 50 years, I have known. So it is not that, something which is, we don't talk in a negative way or kind of thing. What we have noticed and what we have experienced, we are only expressing. As Gaurav, I think, has said, in the sports code comes, who knows? They might do away with this term also. So Sourav can continue for 3 years. So nobody knows what is going to happen. But if the compromise is that 10 months you will be here, then Brijesh will take over. That could be one of the reasons. It is not that. See, everywhere it's accommodation, consensus, and it's so beautifully put it. See, cricket board has always run like this only. The office bearers were elected, selected, or nominated 24 hours before the actual AGM. And at the AGM, everyone, unless there are, vertically the board is split and when there two politicians are taking on each other, then it's a different thing. Otherwise, it's always run on this kind of consensus. And the only difference now, I feel, from the so-called dream team, previously what used to happen, somebody used to do apprenticeship like as joint secretary for 5 years, then he will become secretary, and after secretary, after another 5 years or so, some of them have become presidents. Most of the good old days in 70s and 60s, the secretaries went on to become the presidents. See, now what is happening, whoever is powerful is becoming secretary or president kind of things. There is no such thing as schooling like thing, where everybody has, say people like Chinnaswamy, Sri Raman and all, when you look at them, they've all done as secretaries and then they became president. Ghulam Ahmad is only, unfortunately, would have been the first cricketer to become the board president. He could not become because he didn't want. At that time, he said that, I know I'm not interested in becoming president.
Right.
So that's a different thing. But basically, this kind of a system has been short-circuited now.
Okay, so really quickly in closing, now I'm going to come to each of you. Gaurav Gupta, is the new guard at the BCCI, you think, going to, sort of bring about a better, cleaner cricket administration, or nothing changes?
I think it might bring out slightly more cleaner, administration. I'm not too sure. We'll have to wait on that, honestly. But I do hope we can. At this point in time, we can all hope that it brings out a cleaner administration. I don't have a sort of a crystal maze to see, crystal ball to see whether they can actually do it. A few of them have been administrators at the state level, but I don't know how good. They would be at the BCCI level. Somebody like Mr. Arun Dhumal has just come into the system. So what difference would he be able to make? What difference would the cricketers be able to make? There's Mr. Anshuman Gaikwad also there, let's not forget, and Shanta Rangaswamy. So these are people with good intentions. I hope that they are able to make and I'm positive about it, that they're able to improve the administration and keep the core at cricket. And as I said, some of the reforms which are actually hurting cricket instead of helping it, I hope they're able to sort of find a solution to those issues. Okay. And I think they will be able to do it. These are some of the best brains that we have in the country.
Are you of the same opinion, Suman C. Raman?
Off the field as well.
Yeah, I mean, I am optimistic that Ganguly will not want to get his name spoilt in any manner during this short term of 10 months. And that is the biggest hope, because he's, as many have said, he's known to be a, to have a sizable ego. And certainly he will not want, to be associated with anything murky or anything that is messy in a short term that he may have. So what could happen is that those who feel Ganguly is possibly overstepping at some stage or not towing their line may also sort of back down and say, okay, it's only 10 months, let's wait it out. So either way, I don't see tumultuous changes coming in the next 10 months, but I think definitely that there won't be any, major controversies or issues that may snowball into scandals over the next 10 months. I see a smooth sailing for him.
Right.
On both sides, they would like to, see out his term without too many issues.
Right. But your consensus ploy strategy, of course, is something that we're all also going to be looking at keenly. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Sourav Ganguly, touted to bring in vast experience as a player, a captain, and then as a coach mentor, and as the new office bearers assume office, it will end a 33-month term of the Committee of Administrators, which called the shots in running the cricket affairs in the country post the Lodha Committee reforms. And although the last 3 years have seen turbulence, controversy, and a lot of legal back and forth, the Indian cricket team continues to win more than ever before. Perhaps we also need to focus on the positives. But to say that this new guard doesn't have the support of an old hand would be overstating. Good night. Thank you so much for watching.